This is Steve Rankin. For the Week 2 application discussion, I want to demonstrate the double leg horizontal jump assessment, which is also known as the standing broad jump or the long jump, the standing long jump. I'll complete the assessment with my daughter. She's an 11-year-old middle school long jump athlete, so she'll participate with this. Although as a youth athlete, our standards will not apply to her. So I'll record the measures, but keep in mind those standards don't apply. According to McGill and Montel, our text, this assessment measures her total body bilateral power dynamically by measuring the jumping distance instead of just the height. Although it may be performed in different planes of motion, we'll perform the forward sagittal plane version because it's the most relevant to horizontal jumping performance and her event. Equipment for this equipment and safety includes a tape measure, which I have, which has both inches and the metric system on the other side. A clearly identified starting line, which we have marks on the floor. Can we get that in there? So we can use that as a starting point and a reference point. We're not going to put tape on the floor. So that's one thing that I can't do here. They don't allow us to put tape on the floor. We're using a flat, non-skid, dry surface, which is important, especially in a jump like this. An unobstructed landing area. We're in a racquetball, which does allow that. We completed a brief dynamic warm-up and familiarization with the measured trials. Testing would be stopped if either the participant feels pain, dizziness, or any other symptoms which might present some type of hazard or some type of warning sign. So the equipment, in addition to that, is pen to record the measurements, paper, the measure, and instead of tape, I'm using a marker to look at the landing. We're going to measure at the back heel of the closest foot to the beginning. So we'll get the measurement to the heel. She'll stop after each landing. So before doing the trials, I'll present instructions to the athlete to make sure they clearly understand what they're supposed to do. Jessup, we're going to begin with both feet behind the starting line, about shoulder width apart. You're going to bend the hips and knees. Your arms are going to be in an arm swing back position, and then you're going to swing your arms forcefully forward and extend through the hips and knees to jump forward as far as possible. With an athlete familiar with this jump, this becomes much easier. In fact, the arm swing may be mechanically optimized because instead of just landing with your arms out, which can buffer the jump, you very often will bring the arms through again and sometimes get an extra couple inches out of that. An attempt will be repeated if you cross the starting line, so we have to have this for a level of accuracy, or if you fail to use a bilateral takeoff, so take off one foot, it's not a good test. If you step backwards, you can touch the floor behind with your heel, so if you step back for any reason, we won't count that just like that. So now we're going to move on to trials. This is demonstrated for the athlete, so she has a clear understanding because she might not know. Some athletes are familiar with it, but a lot of people don't understand what a broad jump or a single long jump is, so I'm going to demonstrate that. You want your toes behind the line. You want to bend the hips and knees. My torso is going to be leaning forward, and I'm going to jump forward. Where my back heel is where we measure. So I'll measure to your back heel. Okay. We're going to use a marker to mark that. Can you bring the marker over here and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So after you land, you're going to keep your foot stationary. I'm going to use this at the back of the heel because we're not using tape on these foot. So you would do that for me, and if you were doing the test, I'm doing that for you after you land. So stay perfectly still. I still want to be like. So I'll go back and measure that. I could have her moved at this point because the mark was already there for reference. You hold that, yes? And she's at 62 and 7/8 inches. Let's also convert that to centimeters after. Pretty good jump. Let's do that 2 more times. Very often, the second or third trial tends to be better because the athletes want to understand what they're doing. Ready, Jess? Anytime you're ready. I think that's probably a little further. We're at 62 and 1/8 inches. This time, let's try variation with your arm let it sweep through. So after you land, instead of stopping with your arms out, just let it sweep through, okay? Anytime you're ready. If she had stepped with that, we'd have to redo the trial. If I had tape this down or I could tape it to the floor, it'd be a lot easier to read than having the athlete hold the form. We are at 62 and 1/2 inches. 62 and 1/2 inches. So that's the end of the 3 trials. Wrap up in this room. It has better acoustics and let you know that we completed the 3 trials. With the measurements, you measure to the nearest heel to the takeoff line. The distance is measured perpendicularly from the starting line with this jump. You can do different variations of that. The same measurement procedure is used for each attempt. That's important that you don't mix variations in there. It has to be the exact same type of jump. If she places a heel backwards or something messes it up, you just repeat the trial. You just delete that trial. As far as results, she had, I think it was 169.75 centimeters. So it's going to be something like that. I'll post those in my results. The distance is measured, like I said, perpendicularly straight from one point to the other. I had the athlete hold it in place. But if you're doing this on your own, you would just tape it down and then pull the measuring tape to the heel. The demonstration measured the centimeters. The athletes completed 3 trials. Her best performance is going to be recorded, and the 3 trial mean is going to be, of course, the 3 trials divided by 3, the number of trials. During takeoff, we observed counter movement, and in fact, I tried to put some in there to demonstrate that by having her arms go all the way through, which a lot of long jumpers do that. We could look at bilateral extension, the mechanics, the symmetry, the landing, and it has to be a double foot takeoff and landing. That bilateral foot contact is extremely important, as well as safe, good knee alignment, proper balance. With a non-athlete, you might look for other things that are really important for somebody who's just beginning this. And in closing, the results pretty much establish an individual baseline for further total measurement, right? This could be done at the beginning of a season for the athlete, or if you're training somebody for conditioning, it's just a bilateral measure of horizontal power. Because my daughter's an 11-year-old youth athlete, her results are not going to be categorized using the adult or collegiate norms, although obviously her jump is far better than mine. The standing bilateral assessment does not directly measure her running approach, so it's not the same as a regular long jump. But it does provide a practical
repeatable measure of horizontal power that's relevant to her development as a youth long jumper. I appreciate your time, and I'll post additional details related to